Well, they say when it rains, it pours. And if you listened to last week's episode, you know we were facing some different, unique circumstances that caused us to have a different episode last Friday. Well, we have some unique and different circumstances again this week. But never fear, we have some great Star Wars conversation with our interview from Alabama Comic-Con with a member of the Alabama Garrison of the 501st Legion and some of the amazing things that they're doing, as well as a really fun conversation that we had right on the heels of that about the Batman movie and what you can expect from that. That's all up next. This is Tatooine Sons.
It's true. All of it.
What is the name of the Porg on the Millennium Falcon?
Force is strong in my family.
What do you think his name is? It's a big moment.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Maybe Turbis?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Turbis? Pablo, if you're listening to this live stream, that Porg's name is now Turbis. It's a good Star Wars name.
We're not done yet.
These guys recorded an awesome podcast called Tatooine Sons. Everybody listen to that.
Well, welcome to another unusual, unexpected episode of Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast. Oh, I needed to hear that intro with Ryan Johnson and BB Nate and Turbis the Porg. We are the only fan podcast to name a canon Star Wars character and to be endorsed by Ryan Johnson. We believe that pop culture is the mythology of our generation and that there is a story written on our souls and that these myths speak to that story. And sometimes these stories are exactly what they were intended to be: entertainment and an escape. And I have every intention of trying to find some time this weekend to watch one of these types of stories, either a Marvel movie or a Star Wars movie, or maybe we'll go see No Time to Die Again or something like that, because we need an escape. Mom's surgery. For those of you that listen to the podcast last week, you know that my mother had open heart surgery. She ended up having a double bypass surgery, and it went well, thankfully, and she is finally home. And so we are grateful for that, and we thank you for your prayers and notes of encouragement that you have sent to us. Thank you guys so much for that. This week was complicated in different ways. Sam rear-ended somebody yesterday. Fortunately, nobody was hurt and no significant damage to either vehicle, so we should be good on that. And then BB Nate is going through something. So if you can keep him in your prayers. He's facing some abdominal pain that has just been getting increasingly worse over the past couple of months, so much so that this next week he will be going in for an endoscopy so that they can try to figure out what's going on. So all of that has led us to another different episode. BB Nate and Samuel the Hutt are not with me this week, but I have some exciting news, and we do have it all figured out, and hopefully we're going to be able to pull it together for a special shift in our schedule that we'll talk about at the end of this episode. But before we do that, when we were at Alabama Comic-Con earlier in October, we had the amazing time being in a booth right next to the Alabama Garrison of the 501st Legion. We had a great time with those people. I love the 501st and Rebel Legion and Mando Mercs and the Droid Builders Guild, all of the things that these troops do, these charity organizations do to bring Star Wars to the world and also raise money for charity. And so this is a real treat for us to have had 15, 20 minutes to talk with the people over there at the Alabama Garrison of the 501st Legion and all of the things that go on with that troop and that charity organization. You're going to really enjoy this interview with them. And then we continued our conversation. We really want to talk about the Batman trailer that came out of DC Fandom, but because of everything going on, we haven't had that chance. But we were able to talk about it at Alabama Comic-Con. And BB Nate, as you know, is a massive Batman fan. He's read pretty much all the comics that he can get his hands onto when it comes to Batman. And he is super excited about this movie. And so he did a sort of a knowledge bomb on us there for a few minutes, and we talked about the Batman. So I can't wait for you to listen to that. I'll be back at the end of the episode to talk about what's coming this Tuesday and next Friday and some changes that begin in November. Can't wait for that.
Hello, what have we here?
Achuta, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, Disney, Star Trek, and even sports fans, we've got a big surprise for you.
That's right, Samuel. The Tatooine Sons is proud to announce that our show is now sponsored by Cufflinks.com.
Yeah, Cufflinks.com is a family-run business owned by three brothers who are huge Star Wars fans.
But they have so many other brands too, including Disney, Marvel, DC, NFL, college football, Roll Tide, along with classics like Jan Leslie, A Dachshund Bull.
Now, as hard as it is to believe, Christmas is just around the corner. So thanks to Cufflinks.com, we just made shopping for the sharp-dressed Star Wars fan in your life so much easier.
They have over 3,000 items on the website, covering not just cufflinks, but ties, tie bars, socks, money clips, and other great gifts.
And we're saving you money. Just use the code Tatooine15 at checkout to receive 15% off everything on the site with no minimum order required.
It's such a great deal.
Yeah.
So head on over to Cufflinks.com today. And remember, use that code Tatooine15 at checkout.
Impressive. Most impressive.
We just finished lunch. We sat outside for about 20 minutes and thawed out because it's as cold as a con I've ever seen, which is great because sweaty nerds in cosplay can smell really bad.
Yeah.
So we're glad to do this. And we're getting ready to talk about the Batman. But before we do that, we have a special guest. Sam and Nate aren't acknowledging.
No, yeah.
We're not.
They're just...
I'm letting you lead.
They can't hear
We were going to let you.
They can't hear your head shake.
We were going to let you do
You
that.
do the
but-
days? We've got now. If you've been to a con, or lots of movie premieres, charity events.
Yeah.
If you've seen season 1 of The Mandalorian, then you should be very familiar with the 501st Legion.
Yes.
They
Yes, sir.
are amazing, and we have Tracy Stallings from the Alabama troop, right? How's that?
Garrison.
Alabama Garrison. I know I'm not a trooper, so I want to make sure I do it right. Tracy, thank you for jumping in and
thank
talking
you.
with us a little bit.
Thank you.
We are so excited to have you guys here because you guys do such amazing work in the fan community. I remember taking these kids to see The Force Awakens in 2015 before we even started this podcast, and they're little kids, and there was a bunch of stormtroopers and Darth Vaders and all these people outside, and those were 501st.
They were. They were.
People at it. Tell us a little bit about the 501st and what the mission is.
Basically, it's bad guys doing good. We are a international charity group, a Star Wars costuming group. We are part of a set, and we focus a lot on giving back to our communities, giving through charities, donations, fundraising events. Even today here at the con, we're running Blasted Trooper, which is one of our most popular fundraisers.
It's very popular.
It's been insane at our booth today. We were expecting Sunday to be slower, and instead we've had a line of kids.
That's awesome.
Basically, they donate to a local charity of our choice, and we work with all different charities. So it's nothing in particular. We don't have a favorite. We work with everything from national charities such as Make-A-Wish to working toward local charity events. This year, for today, we're doing Child Care Resources, which is a charity here in Birmingham that's local. We normally do a big event with them every year. Well, COVID has kind of put a damper on that.
Right.
So we kind of came up with this idea today to try to make up for some of COVID's loss for them. And so that's what we've been focusing on this weekend. But it can be different charities, any kind of charity that's local, because we're international. So anywhere that you are, anybody that might be listening, If you go to 501st.com, you can request an appearance, and we can get permission from Disney and Lucasfilm to come and troop your charity. We've got a couple of Halloween events coming up.
Awesome.
We do some local community events for that. We've got a special needs trunk and treat coming up on the day before Halloween. We're going to have our own little booth for them to come and get candy from us.
That's so cool.
And just so they can take pictures and, meet a stormtrooper and meet a Mandalorian. 501st has all kinds of characters.
Mm-hmm.
Any of the shows that basically run for the Empire, so we have Boba Fett as well as stormtroopers. Of course, we have Darth Vader. There are other Star Wars costuming groups that you can get Rebels and Jedis, Han Solo, Princess Leia, and it kind of runs the gamut. But a lot of the areas you can request all the groups to come see you.
Wow.
And we will troop together. So that's kind of what we do.
Now, you said something a little. Oh, go ahead, Sam. Okay. You said something earlier about how you have to get permission from Disney and Lucasfilm in order to show up at these things. People may not understand that this isn't just some fans that are throwing on some costumes and going around and playing Star Wars. It's a serious group. It's a charity. It's not connected to Disney and Lucasfilm, but it's acknowledged by Disney and Lucasfilm, and you guys are in an agreement with them. And so it's a significant thing. Kind of explain why you guys like the protocols for becoming a member and the level of detail people go into in order to develop their kit and why that's so important.
The simple explanation is you have to follow the CRL. And the reason I say that's simple is because that's the easiest way to say it. But it's not really that simple as it is to say it. A CRL is part of our costume resource library, and the costumes themselves need to be pretty much movie accurate. You're not going to be able to find it on Amazon. You're not going to be able to pick up and call Rubies. You're going to have to actually build your kit. Everything that we do, we've built ourselves. We have some people that can help make parts of it, but eventually you're going to have to build it. Mm-hmm. We have people that can make vacuum formed pieces, and then you buy it from them. We have people that can help make helmets. 3D printing is changing our game a lot. But even 3D printing, you have to make sure there's no print lines. It has to be extremely accurate. I cannot stress how difficult it can be. But at the same time, for someone who's trying to get into the 501st, it's wanting to begin to be the charities, there are some on the easier end, such as a Jawa, which is monk's cloth, broadcloth, and just needs somebody who can sew a pattern together. Rebel Legion has some simpler ones with their Jedi. Those are soft pieces. Soft costumes are easier. You've got a few vendors that can sell flight suits to get you started for TIE pilot reserves. There are ways to get in it, but some of the more elaborate costumes are you buy a lot of pieces. You have to wait a couple of years sometimes for some of the parts to be done. Prints can take up to months to complete a print with the right 3D printer. But it's important that we create that magic for the kids when they're there. Mm-hmm. We're at the movie premiere, then we want those kids to think we're it. Mm-hmm. Those stormtroopers are real. Darth Vader is breathing down your neck. We want them to believe it. The Mandalorians, the Boba Fett, everybody, we want them to sit there and think that they've met that bounty hunter.
Right.
Very cool.
And when you go to a community event, when we're in a parade, when we're working at a local Make-A-Wish, or we are doing March of Dimes, any of those kind of things, you want the kids and magic to be there.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You mentioned that the things need to be, the kits need to be movie accurate. And that reminded me of how in Mandalorian Season 1, they used a bunch of 501st troopers. Yeah, talk about what
was that? Explain that for our listeners.
Yeah. So the rumors hit, they did really great of not letting anybody know what was happening. Mm-hmm. And so we all got, the rest of the garrisons got the full story. As soon as California's non-disclosure was free, they're like, let us tell you what happened. So basically, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are big with the 501st. Yeah. They like what we do. They're very big into it. They're very big with the charities. And So when they needed some extras, John Favreau and Dave Filoni like, hey, we know where to get some. So they basically advertised that they were going to do an event.
Okay.
Okay.
Everybody got there with their kits. They said clean stormtroopers only, no sand troopers, no clean stormtroopers only. And so the California Garrison showed up with their kits. They put them on a bus, made them sign lots of non-disclosure agreements, and drove them to the set. And we're like, this is what we're doing.
Oh my gosh.
So in the one of the final scenes, when you see the whole big shebang, all the cleanest stormtroopers, yeah, that's the 501st.
And from what I understand, John Favreau and Dave Filoni said that their costumes are actually better than the costumes that were created for the Mandalorian show.
And honestly, if you're looking at the show, you can tell.
You can tell which ones are who.
Really?
You can also tell the 501st because we're more used to wearing them.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So for us, it was not like an extra putting on a costume. Let's see, it's currently 1 o'clock. Some of my stormtroopers have been in their armor now for about 2 hours.
Wow.
You get used to wearing it.
Yeah.
Some of our events can be 12 hours long. We try to kind of switch in and out, but they get used to doing it for hours. You have fans in the helmets, and we just kind of make sure they stay hydrated. But
that's awesome. So tell everybody how the 501st came about, if you know.
To the best of your knowledge. Yeah.
I don't even know all the beginning. It has been going on for so long. It just kind of exploded from when he started and what it became. And then kind of Lucasfilms kind of let this happen and they helped it happen. And then when Disney took over, they're like, so what's going on?
Yeah.
They're like, okay. I don't think they still quite understand because it's such a
the
unique
big corporate
thing.
Machine has a hard time wrapping their heads around it. Yeah.
There's nothing really like this.
Right.
And it blew international. And I know we're focusing mostly on the 501st, but I'm also a part of the Rebel Legion.
Right. Okay.
And with the Rebel Legion last year for COVID, we decided to do a thing called Rebelthon. And when we did it for a few hours, raising money over it, had it, streaming live, had some of the voice actors, authors, Brian Herring, one of the puppeteers, is really big into it. And we had raised money for UNICEF. Well, some of the other bases were like, hey, that didn't go real wide. We can do this on 24 hours.
Wow.
So this year, we went 24 hours long.
No way.
And groups in the bases in Shanghai and bases in Italy, Europe, a lot of them picked up some of those time zones. So we kept that thing going 24 hours.
That's so cool.
And that's what we can do when we have the power of all of us to work literally internationally.
That's awesome.
And it gives you an impact when you realize how many people are coming together. Right now in the 501st, we've got 13,000 people international.
Wow.
That's awesome. Really cool.
About 60-something garrisons. And that's worldwide.
That's amazing.
That's impressive.
How did you get involved with 501st?
And Rebel.
And Rebel Legion. You're right, yeah.
Actually, through my husband.
Okay.
He was a big Star Wars fan when we married. He was introduced on his 4th birthday for the first movie.
Awesome.
And it stuck. He's been a super, uber fan ever since. I had not watched Star Wars when I got married. I had watched Star Trek.
Oh.
And so then we got married and we merged our interests. But we bumped into them at a sports game.
Okay.
Because that's part of the community work. If you've ever seen a Star Wars night at a major league, minor league game, or maybe hockey, we do all the sports. And we had a Star Wars night at a baseball game local. And my husband does not do baseball. I do. So I convinced him to go to the game with me because
it was Star Wars night. Hey,
there you
she's
go.
Smart.
And he started looking at the costumes, started oohing and awing. Somebody handed him a card, and the rest is history. He is an amazing maker. I'm going to brag a little bit.
Good, go for it.
He can sew a lot of the soft parts. He 3D prints. He has leatherworking skills.
Wow.
He's just a maker of a jack of all trades. Literally, if he decides he wants it, he can make it.
Wow.
And it just blows my mind. But I told him if he'd make me a costume, I'd join. 4 costumes in. He's 6 costumes in. Our son is 3 costumes in.
That's so cool.
We all have another costume in the pipeline. I'm working on a TIE pilot. The son's working on a Death Trooper.
Nice.
The husband's working on a Clone Trooper. So
Very cool.
we're armoring up. That's what we do.
Fun.
That's how I got into it. I thought I was just going to kind of hang around, maybe help handle, which if you've ever seen any of us, we usually have somebody in the background trying to kind of make sure armor pieces are staying in place.
You don't walk into anyone.
Darth Vader can't exactly look down, so you want to make sure that he knows when there's a kid at his feet. And so I was like, I'm just going to do this. And the first time you see that magic happen, and you see the magic happening for adults and kids, you want to be a part of that. The first time, for me, I have some of my own personal pet charities, and I did one in particular, and it was an autism charity, and one of the autistic children reacted to the lightsaber, and it melts you. You can't. You've done something. You've connected to somebody. You've made somebody have a smile that they wouldn't have had that day.
You brought them joy.
It did, and it sounds a little sappy, but that's what it does. And you just realize that you have a potential to take this fun cosplay thing and step it up and make it important. And you make it important for other people. Just today, I mean, we've had one child come by 5 times already today, just because he is entranced by all of it.
Yeah.
And so we've made magic for that one kid. If nobody else today, we've made magic for at least one kid.
That's awesome.
It's
We
so cool.
always, whenever we talk to somebody that's Star Wars, a Star Wars fan and lover like you are, which is fun to hear you how you got brought into Star Wars through your husband with that. So I like to ask this question, and we'll kind of end with this. How for you? And it could be through 501st stuff, Rebel Legion stuff, or the films or the stories or whatever. But for you, how does Star Wars inspire hope?
I think because you always see somebody fighting for what they see to do the right thing. At the very end, the rebels are always fighting for something to be better. They're fighting for a happier time. They're fighting for more inclusivity. They're fighting for a greater good. And I think you always see that there's going to be somebody trying to bring that better into the world. And that no matter how evil or bad or what kind of Palpatine or Darth Vader you're going to have, there's going to be somebody that's going to be like, no, you need to stop. So I think that's what it is for me.
So if somebody wants to get involved with the 501st or the Rebel Legion, what's like the first thing that they need to do to kind of learn how to engage with you guys? Is there a website they need to go to, or do they need to reach out to somebody in their local troop or their local garrison or whatever?
Yes, all of that. The very first way I would start is 501st.com, so 501st.com or rebellegion.com, depending on what costume you want. A lot of times there you can find your local detachments, garrisons, bases. Once you find your local people, a lot of us have ways to contact. We have armor parties for people to be able to join and help get stuff started. Some of these kits can be overwhelming. Please don't feel overwhelmed. Find your local people. We've been through it. We've done it. We've been there. We will help you step you through it. We'll step you through the right vendors. We'll help you find the right parts, the right 3D files. So once you get with your local group, alternatively, each of the costumes have detachments.
Okay.
So they have specialty groups. So a lot of them have Facebook groups or forums, like the TIE Pilots. I have the Jolly Roger Squadron, and they have been invaluable in helping me find my parts. So you find your local detachment, get in the forums. People are there to help you. I mean, we want more people. We want people to join us.
That's awesome. So it's more than just an opportunity to dress up in some really cool Star Wars costumes and do some charity work. It sounds to me like that's the icing on top of the cake, which is the community that you get to build, the friendships and the relationships with other Star Wars fans that are like-minded, trying to do some amazing things in the community, and you get to build those friendships.
We've become a family. I won't lie. I mean, that's what we do. There's a definite commonality there, and when you have that kind of connection, it's fairly deep.
Yeah.
And so, we've, like, right now we'll probably wrap this up and then go out and have our dinners and then go out in our separate homes, but some of us are an hour away.
Yeah.
But that's what we do. We see each other often because we do this as much as we can. and we help each other through it, and we're here.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us on
thank
Tatooine
you.
Sons, Tracy. We are super excited about that. Sam and Nate, why don't you guys talk a little bit about what this is while I say goodbye to her, and then we'll jump into the Batman, all right?
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
We'd always been interested in costuming. At least I had, ever since the first Star Wars Celebration. I was always intrigued by seeing all these amazing people, and they're really, like she said, they are movie accurate costumes.
They are.
So it's really cool to see them walk around, and I was really interested in getting in. But then, like she said, I realized it's very difficult.
It is.
They are not kidding when they say it's difficult. It is really hard to make sure your kit is exactly up to standards. And that's how I got interested in Mando Mercs. I looked at the Mercs a little bit more, which is it's the same style of company as 501st. Same setup, except you costume Mandos as opposed to troopers. And you can, there's a lot more freedom with the Mercs. You're able to customize your kit, and it's not quite as strict, but it is still strict. But overall, the concept is the same. The end result is the same. It's a charity. They help bring that joy to other people. And yeah, you get to build community and friendships, and there's always helpful people willing to answer whatever questions you have. So it's a really, really cool organization, and I can't wait to join in for Mando Mercs. I might make a scout trooper at some point. I've always liked the look of the scout troopers, so I might make a scout trooper or something. But I've always wanted to get in and help with that sort of thing, because not only, it's fun, you get to cosplay and look all cool and people want to take pictures with you, but you're also helping charity and stuff too. I mean, they've raised a bunch of money today for charity, just through what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to do that. Nate, have you ever been interested in doing anything like that?
Not really, no.
All right. I
Never have been.
Not your thing, huh?
No, not my thing at all.
Yeah, but it is a really cool organization.
BB Nate, did you see, was that like the Red Hood that was walking by earlier?
Yes.
What was that?
Yeah.
You know that's one of the guys from Blurred Over.
Yeah, that was a really good cosplay.
You're going to need a picture with that at some
Right.
point. At that point. All right, you guys want to talk a little bit of Batman right now?
Let's do it.
Let me get all my stuff in place here. Make sure I know what I'm doing. All right, we are good to go. All right, so the Batman movie's coming out. Okay, and this is definitely not the first Batman movie that has happened. What are you good over there? You texting Mama?
Mm-hmm.
How's she doing?
She's doing good.
Hi, Mom.
The Broncos losing or winning?
I don't know. Let me check actually real quick. I have we're losing.
Like
17-6.
Broncos
Ouch.
are playing like the Broncos. Mom texted me that earlier. All right, so we'll talk a little Batman now. All right. So I was there in 1989 when the original Batman movie, the Michael Keaton Batman movie, came out.
All right.
And I remember the phenomenon which was that. And I think that the reason that people loved that one so much when I was, what was I, 14 years old when that thing came out?
Dang.
Was because it felt like a comic book on screen. With it. But then you've had other iterations of Batman over the years. I mean, you had the rest of that franchise with the, you had a couple Michael Keaton movies. You had a Val Kilmer version.
You had one more Michael Keaton movie after that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So
then
that's
you
what
had
I meant.
Val Kilmer, and then you had George Clooney.
The George Clooney one is definitely not the one we want to talk too much about. We talked about that on our last main episode of our podcast with that. And those ended, and then you have the Dark Knight trilogy. That was the next thing, Batman, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
after a lot of TV series and stuff, that was the next thing.
So you had the next one, which was the Christian Bale one. So you have the Batman Begins, the Dark Knight, and the Dark Knight Rises. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to make sure I got that one right, because I always seem to get that one confused with it. And then, of course, you've got Ben Affleck's Batman. He was in Man of Steel and in Justice League.
He wasn't in Man of Steel.
Excuse me, Batman versus Superman. That world.
Yes.
With it, and then the theatrical version of Justice League, which would be the Justice League that we don't discuss. And then Zack Snyder's Justice League.
That one's good.
Which is good. Yeah. Now my question is, and BB Nate's our resident Batman's super expert with this, so we're gonna have we're gonna lean on you really strong, BB Nate. All right. This one feels very different in style, in presentation, and everything. It doesn't feel like another reboot of the Caped Crusader franchise. If they're just trying to, do it all over again. But it feels more like a return to like the Detective Comics aspects of Bruce Wayne's story. Why is this side of Batman so important?
Well, Batman was originally a detective, and he always will be. So I think it's important that they're going back to that roots because it's always what it's supposed to be. I mean, he's a detective, and so going back to the roots of like what Matt Reeves described is going to be like has influences from Seven and Zodiac, and both of those are just detective movies. And so I'm really excited to see that we're going to be taking the more down-to-earth, gritty, investigative movie.
Like a film noir.
Exactly.
Kind of
He
vibe.
said it was going to feel a little bit like a old-school detective movie, too. So
Okay.
That's cool. Matt Reeves.
Yes.
He's directing this. He did some Planet of the Apes stuff.
Okay.
What are some of the other things that Matt Reeves did? Do you remember Cloverfield, I think?
He did the first Cloverfield movie. I think he produced the other two as well.
I guess he was involved in Felicity is what I saw.
Okay.
Which is awesome, I guess. With that. Well, why should fans be excited about Matt Reeves directing this film?
He can do thrillers fantastically, and he can do a lot with a small budget, which the reported budget right now is $100 million for this movie.
That is
which
really
small for
this.
a big blockbuster superhero
Right.
movie. He can push the limits of PG-13 without becoming overly gory or a ton of language. And he has done so many different things, like Planet of the Apes is completely different from Cloverfield. But both of them are absolutely
And Felicity is very different than all of them.
Exactly. But both Cloverfield and War for the Planet of the Apes, which I've seen both, are fantastic movies.
I haven't seen the Planet of the Apes yet.
I haven't seen the last one, but I think
they were really well received. I mean, this is obviously the reboot.
The Andy Serkis ones, right? Yeah.
I mean, the first ones were well received too.
Right.
They made like 6 of them. But did you know that they made the originals?
Yes.
Yeah, those were good. You know, there's a joke right now that when William Shatner comes back,
We should all put on
dressed on like the apes.
Yeah.
But anyway, that would be a lot of fun. Batman Year 2.
Yes.
We have some Jawas visiting.
Yeah, that's right. These Jawas are they love coming by and hanging out with us, which is awesome. It's a storyline that's taken from the comics, right?
The storyline of this movie won't be taken from
no.
comics,
But Year 2
is
a storyline from the comics, right? So what in this comic world, what is Year 2, and why does that idea of bringing how is it going to fit into this? Why are they making this Year 2, and how is it going to be different?
Year 2 was received with a mixed bag.
Please come to the
I'm gonna let that go. Alrighty. Okay.
Carol, please come to the official press booth. Thank you.
So, Year 2, it was kind of just an exploration of what he wants to be as Batman. He dealt with the no gun rule a lot in that, and it was kind of received as this was a really weird comic that didn't fit in, especially coming after Frank Miller's Year 1. Right now, it's not going to be taking after that, thankfully, because I just feel like it wouldn't translate well. It is just going to be set in Year 2 of his career, but just still explore what it is to be Batman.
So it's obviously, you said it's not taking it from the comic books with that, but what's the overall feel that you expect from this movie that's going to sort of tie into some of the same feel as that comic? Do you have it? Is it going to be similar in that, or?
It shouldn't be. No, we're not expecting it to be the same. Year 2 was just dealing a lot with just so many different things. This feels a lot more like Year 1 than Year 2.
Okay, so explain that a little bit.
So
more.
Year 1 was a gritty detective story with Batman learning what it is to be Batman and everything with that, and it was really good. Frank Miller does fantastic with that series, and it showed him taking down big crime bosses, which is what it looks like might be happening in this movie, and it was just really gritty and down to earth. No big supervillains or anything like that, and so we're going to be getting the feel of that more than Year 2, because Year 2 was just really strange. It didn't really make sense with fitting into the timeline.
I've heard that this is going to feel pretty similar to Long Halloween. Am I correct?
Is, yes. Long Halloween and Year One feel very similar.
Okay.
Explain a little bit more about that then.
They're just, instead of him fighting giant monsters and stuff like that, it's more of a detective story, a murder, and then he tries to figure out why, or a threat, and then he tries to stop it or anything like that. That is what Long Halloween and Year One did. I mean, y'all watch the Long Halloween movies. They are detective movies more than they are Batman or DC superheroes or anything like that. And so it's just, yeah, both of them are detective rather than death metal or something like that.
What are you hoping, like, perfect world scenario next weekend, DC Fandom 2021, or DC Fandom the sequel, like you called it on our show? What are you hoping to get from, learn about the Batman at that?
At the trailer? Or
just all together?
All
what do you
together?
learn about the Batman movie from next
I don't
year
know,
from the
kind of
fandom?
just more of the feel, how it's going to be. We knew basically nothing after the first trailer because only 25% of the film was shot, and it was just basically a tease for what you like, the feel of what you can expect. I'm hoping we get some more plot points in this. I'm hoping we see a little bit more of the Riddler. I'm hoping we see a lot more of Gordon and Cobblepot, just more of the characters, Catwoman, of course, and just kind of get, okay, this is going to be a Batman movie. I feel like that's what I want.
Well, I told you BB Nate loves the Batman, and I told you he was going to have a lot of good information for you about this movie. And honestly, it's just as relevant after the trailer as it was before, which doesn't surprise me because he has been researching everything about this movie for a year and a half. So he is ready for this. I'm ready for it, especially after that trailer. And here's where it gets exciting. Starting on Tuesday morning, God willing, as long as we don't have some other crazy crisis come up, we are going to be changing our weekly release schedule. So beginning November 2nd, this coming Tuesday, our regular weekly episode that you've been hearing on Fridays will now be premiering on Tuesdays. There's a couple reasons we wanted to do that. Originally, when we moved it to a Friday release, it's because we wanted to talk about the Marvel series that were coming out on Friday and record right after those series were released, episodes were released, and talk about them in real time. But with everything that's gone on with a shift in the schedules and this gap in time before Hawkeye comes out and the Book of Boba Fett comes out and the way that the show has kind of evolved over the last couple of months, we figured it doesn't really make a lot of sense to do a Friday episode anymore. So we're moving that to a Tuesday episode. So when we have Wednesday or Friday releases coming on for Marvel series or for Star Wars series or anything like that, we will be able to break down in a spoilered format, which we do anyway. We'll be able to break those down, and you'll have had an opportunity to watch those shows before our episode comes out. And we can also do a bit of a preview for the episodes releasing that coming week, either Wednesday or or Friday. So we're excited about doing it that way. The other thing that we like about this change in our schedule is it allows for the movie moments segment that BB Nate puts together to actually come out a few days before you are probably going to go to the movies. If you go to the movies on the weekends, Friday nights, Saturdays, Sundays, then you're wanting to get your information, but you may not have a chance to listen to our podcast if it's released at 6 p.m. Eastern on a Friday evening. So releasing this on Tuesday will allow you to get information on the new movies coming out that week, trailers that are coming out, everything else that even our reactions to movies we saw the previous weekend. So all of that will then actually be a little bit better timing for you as the listeners to be able to prepare for the coming weekend and your movie-going experience. And that also opens up a new series of episodes that will be coming out every single Friday. On Fridays, beginning November 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, November 5th. Is that right? Yeah, the day the Eternals comes out. We will be releasing an interview with someone in our Star Wars or Marvel or DC or pop culture world, where it's just a one-on-one conversation between myself and them about whatever their fandom is and how it kind of helps them live their lives. It's a story that we always talk about, this idea of a story written on our souls that these pop culture franchises speak towards. And so we're excited. Next week, a week from today, so that's November 5th, like I said, we're going to be having a really awesome interview with Stephen Kent, who wrote How the Force Can Fix the World. It's an amazing book that will be coming out the following week. You are going to want to hear that, and his idea of how all of these things in Star Wars actually do teach us amazing lessons that if we applied to our real world, it would make our world a lot better. It actually helps us deal with this chaotic experience that we have all the time. So we have that one the next week. So that'll be, I think the 13th. That's going to be our good friend from around the galaxy, Pete Fletzer. He's going to be talking about his relationship with his dad and his relationship with his kids and how Star Wars makes that better for him. So we're excited about that. The following week, I am really pumped about this interview. I spent 45 minutes with my own pastor, Stuart Davidson, talking about the Matrix and sort of the theological, Christological elements within it. You've heard it for 20 years. People have talked about it, but this was a super fun conversation. And I think it will help you see how kind of pull back the curtain on the way that my mind works, as well as the way way Stuart's mind works. I'm excited about that. And we'll have more coming later on in November and beyond as well. So we're super excited about all of that. We want you to be a part of it. So subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to the show so you don't want to miss any of these episodes. We are all about trying to make this the best experience for you possible. And so please give us feedback. Go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. I had a meeting today earlier where somebody actually convinced me that we should have a TikTok. I don't know if I'm going to actually follow through on that, but we'll see. And share this on social media. Share our show with people on social media. We'd truly appreciate it. Make sure you're following us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all the other socials that are out there. You can follow the show on LinkedIn if you look for it. We're there. I know that sounds crazy, but we are. And then if you haven't subscribed, I think I mentioned that. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe on your podcast app and then give us a review. We would really appreciate that. Give us some feedback. Tell us what you love about this show. Tell us what you would, the reason that you listen. And if you can do that on podchaser.com/Tatooine Sons or Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast app that you're listening to it on, it would mean a great deal to us. That feedback really does help us as we make these little tweaks into the show in the way that we host or we produce the show, segments that we have, and release schedule. All of those things that are happening right now are as a result of the feedback that you have given us throughout the last couple of months. And so we would appreciate that. And then as our way of saying thank you to you for giving us that review, we are going to make a donation to you, or donation not to you. That's not reverse that. A donation in your honor to one child, and that will help a child living in extreme poverty. Thank you so much. We really are excited about this new era of Tatooine Sons that begins this coming week. Thank you for your thoughts and your prayers, especially for my mother and for BB Nate as he's kind of dealing with some stuff that's really, really painful and uncomfortable. So if we can get some diagnosis on that, we would appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. I guess there's only one thing left to say.
May the Force be with you, always.
This party's over.
I like that Wookiee.
Don't get technical with me.
Joy, please.